Welcome to BNC Live, everyone. I'm Shannon Lanier in for Laverne McGee. It's Tuesday, October 12th, and get this, the backlash continues at this hour following the negative comments about gays, women, and black people in emails from Las Vegas Raiders head coach Jon Gruden. Now, the controversy over those emails has forced Gruden to quit. It comes after the New York Times released a report revealing homophobic, misogynistic, and racist remarks he made in emails over a 7-year period. Las Vegas Raiders head coach Jon Gruden resigning overnight after the New York Times and Wall Street Journal reviewed emails from Gruden that used homophobic, misogynistic, and racist language. Gruden announcing his departure in a statement writing, quote, "I love the Raiders and do not want to be a distraction. Thank you to all the players, coaches, staff, and fans of Raider Nation. I'm sorry, I never meant to hurt anyone."
Jon Gruden was homophobic. He was misogynistic. He was racially insensitive. Jon Gruden, he needed to resign. It's imperative that he did resign, and I'm glad that he resigned.
The New York Times reviewed emails from Gruden from 2011 through 2018 while he was an ESPN analyst, where he used a homophobic slur while referring to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. The Times further reports Gruden denounced the emergence of women as referees, the drafting of a gay player, and the tolerance of players protecting and protesting during the playing of the national anthem.
All of it obviously reaches critical mass very quickly, to the point where either Gruden decided himself that there's no way out of this and has to resign, or he was pressured to resign. This is a pattern of behavior, apparently. There's a lot here, and it can't be rationalized.
Last week, the Wall Street Journal report revealed an email sent by Gruden in 2011 where he used racist language while referring to the head of the NFL Players Association, DeMaurice Smith, during a contentious lockout over the collective bargaining negotiations. Gruden apologized for the email after the Raiders game on Sunday.
All I can say is I'm not a racist. I can't tell you how sick I am. I apologize again to D. Smith, but I feel good about who I am and what I've done my entire life. And I apologize for the insensitive remarks. I had I had no racial intentions with those remarks at all. But yes, they can. I'm not like that at all, but I apologize.
Smith tweeted in response to the news of Gruden's email. The email from Jon Gruden and some of the reaction to it confirms that the fight against racism, racist tropes, and intolerance is not over. This is not about an email as much as it is about the pervasive belief by some that people who look like me can be treated as less.
We give guys these big contracts because they want to be able to lead 70 men, coaches, equipment staff, and managers to the number one goal, and that's to win the championship. And for us to be moving back and not forward in 21st century, like I said, man, National Football League, this hurts me. The clock is ticking, man. I'm sorry.
Well, Raiders owner Mark Davis tweeted that he accepted Gruden's resignation, and Rich Bisaccia will be the special teams coordinator and assistant head coach for the Raiders will be stepping in as interim head coach. But our next guest says that his resignation is not enough and calls for the NFL to be more inclusive. Joining us now to discuss this is NFL veteran Ryan Russell. He came out as bisexual 2 years ago, so you can possibly maybe empathize with this situation a little more than some other players. So that's why we want to talk to you a little bit more about what do you think of his apology? Do you think it was sincere?
Whether it was sincere or not, it wasn't enough. I mean, to say that you're sorry and that you didn't intend to hurt people in this day and age, in the 21st century, when you were a coach and an analyst, when you saw the Black Lives Matter movement, you were a witness to Colin Kaepernick and the kneeling and the protesting of police brutality to Black and brown players. So you know that your words carry weight. Also, as a leader and a motivator and a coach, you know how strong words are. So to say that I didn't intend to hurt anyone, to me is not enough. It's not accountability. If anything, it's a reactive approach to being caught. And his stepping down and resignation is not going to really solve the major problem at large here.
Well, now, was it just me when you're listening to this? Were you waiting for him to say some of my best friends are black? Or was that just me?
No, very much. I mean, it was very half in, half out.
Right. Okay. Well, do you think this is issue that this is a bigger issue than just Gruden? That if this happened over several years, that several other leaders of the team who viewed these emails and remained silent, should they be held responsible for being negligent and not doing something or allowing it to take place?
Definitely. I mean, Gruden wasn't sending those emails to himself. And since we're just now hearing about emails from several years ago, we can only come to assume that they're from like-minded individuals or individuals who have taken their privilege for granted and used it to hurt or marginalize other people and other voices. So, I mean, this is not an isolated incident. This is not just a Las Vegas Raiders incident. This is an NFL incident. This is a systemic incident, and it needs to be addressed on all levels, on all teams.
And I know you've recently said that the NFL needs to be more inclusive. So what does that look like for you, and what steps need to take place to make that happen?
The NFL is one of the most powerful organizations in the world. It's as simple as having ambassadors of inclusion on each team, but also a board, not only from just players, but from coaches, from owners. It's about having checks and balances in place so that things like this cannot fly under the radar for years. It's obviously about your hires. The fact that, the National Football League is a majority Black player league, but very much not a majority Black player staff or coaching or head coaches. To me says a lot. Also, just in implementing more women in positions of power throughout the NFL, I think is a long way. You can't preach inclusion and diversity when your ownership, your head coaches, you walk into your facilities and you do not see diversity and inclusion.
And the same goes for what happens when we see people speak out. It seems like the NFL punishes or sidelines some of the players who go against the norm, like Colin Kaepernick, for example, taking the knee, or Michael Sam after announcing that he was gay. So can you talk a little bit more about the changes the organization needs to make concerning these issues?
Of course, the organization first and foremost needs to empower its players and empower not just what they mean on the field, but what they stand for off of the field as well. There's a lot of kind of dehumanization of young players, specifically also young Black men. When we put on a helmet and the shoulder pads and the jersey, that we lose our identity, that we become kind of this property, so to say, instead of understanding that we face a lot of issues that our community faces, our family faces, that people of our same race do face. And instead of being empowered, we're often silenced. The tropes and the money and the NFL success is often held over our head to silence us instead of allowing us to use our abilities, our talents, and our platforms to amplify our voices, which I think would have been a great thing for Colin Kaepernick, which I think they have a great opportunity now with even Carl Nassib on the Raiders. There are people in the organization who need to be uplifted and whose voices need to not only shine, but to be echoed from the NFL.
Well, can you explain to us a little bit about your experience and what was it like and what has your interaction been like with the NFL since you came out in 2019?
Yeah, coming out was definitely hard for me for all of the reasons that people would assume. I was worried about my career, but also just about my own physical health. And since coming out, with having Carl come out and with having things like the NFL PSA for National Coming Out Day and some internal events that we were able to coordinate, and the NFL Pride panel that we were able to do that lives on NFL.com/pride. There has been conversation moving forward in inclusion, specifically about sexuality, that I'm very proud to be a part of. But as I've said here today, and obviously also as Jon Gruden has demonstrated, there's a long, long way to go in the NFL. And they are more than capable of pushing the status quo forward, of being more inclusive and progressive in its views instead of being reactive and performative.
All right, Ryan Russell, some great points today. We thank you so much for joining us for this important conversation. And still to come, it's a pill promising to effectively treat some COVID-19 cases. After the break, we'll explore Merrick's new regimen and how it could save lives. Keep it right here on BNC Live.